Hi everybody, I'm Katie. Welcome to Alveston Park Friends Star Party 2021. Wow, we are here. Whilst I'm doing a few introductions to both the event and some of the people behind the event, why not, if you're in here in Crowdcast, just have a little play with some of the features. So on the right-hand side, there is a chat function. Maybe say a quick hello and perhaps where you're from. We're hoping to get a few people from around outside of our usual area coming together for this one too. I've been absolutely staggered by the number of people who have showed an interest in this, and I've been even more taken aback by the amount of work that's gone in from some of the people behind the scenes. So first of all, Alveston Park Friends, who are we? Well, we're a tiny bundle of people with very diverse interests who have a shared aim of just making Alveston Park a better place for everybody. I've got to do a shout out for Rachel Taylor because of her involvement in the Park Friends. Usually, she organises our summer event that pre-COVID was drawing over 10,000 people every year. Not many people can say that they're behind an event that big. So doing that all as a volunteer, thanks, Rachel, and thank you for all the stuff that you've done on social media as well. So if somebody says hi, then I'll know on the chat, then I'll know that you can see me. We have got an amazing 9 days of live events for you to get into all the way from now until the end of the month. Oh, hi, Emily. Hi, Linda. Nice to hear from you. I feel a bit better now. Yeah, tell us where you're from too. So just a little word about Crowdcast. If you look at the bottom, you've got to ask a question. So if you want to ask a specific question, go there and ask it. If you just want general chit chat, then say it in the chat. If you see a question that somebody else has asked and you think, yeah, I'd like to know the answer to that, you can vote for it, and that tells us what the most popular questions are. Well, what's got us here? Well, Alveston Park Friends Star Party started way back in 2011. We began with the very first BBC Stargazing Live. They set up a series of programs that went out during a week in January to brighten the place up a little bit. And they had an aim of trying to get people out there looking at the night sky, for real. We're very much going in the same vein. They were encouraging community groups to organise events. So that's what we did, and that's what we're still doing. Except our remit this year, circumstances say that rather than getting out there and doing it, just stay in here and do it. It's nice and warm and cozy. Well, it is here anyway. I'm in the smallest room in the house, so it's really nice. And enjoy the night sky. Anything to brighten up January. We are really wanting you to decorate your windows with stars. Send us your pictures on Alveston Park Friends Facebook page. That would be great. So from our first event in 2011, we had about 45 people. We booked the YMCA, which is just opposite the park, and we did crafty things, and I took people for a walk around the park to see what stars we could see, which wasn't many because it was cloudy, as many of our stargazing walks have been. If you've been on a walk in Alveston Park and one of our usual events, that was me. And thank you for coming, because I know many of you came even when it was pouring down with rain, which when you're looking for stars is really appreciated. I mean, we just talk about the cool stuff that you can't see anyway, like black holes and neutron stars. So I hope that we're still enjoyable for people, if a little bit cold and damp. So, hi Carl from Rugeley, that's brilliant. Hi Sarah. Hi from Peter from Darby and District Astronomical Society. So Darby and District Astronomical Society have been with us for our stargazing events for a long time. I'm just going to invite Brian up just to say a little bit about Darby and District Astronomical Society. Who are you and what do you do? He should be coming up in just a few minutes if you bear with us. So we've had all sorts of things going on. We've had a real space rocket in the park. We've had a star field where you could walk around and see what constellations would look like from other parts of space. Here's Brian. Hi, Brian.
Hi, Katie. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good.
So who are Darby and District Astronomical Society, and what do you do?
Well, basically, we're a group of people like yourselves with diverse interests, but the main interest is stargazing and trying to understand how the universe works, if you like. We have an observatory that we can use, or we could use before this COVID came in. We meet twice a month at St Helens Street for where we have talks, and we have introductory talks. So new people coming along can come along and we can talk to them, introduce them to the night sky, and just basically we just want to get people interested in looking up and seeing what is up there.
Okay, and later on in the week you're going to be doing a dedicated question and answer session, aren't you?
Yes, we are. And if anybody has any questions, if they can't make the question and answer session, they can email me at Secretary at Darby Astronomy, or they can get in touch with you and you could pass them on to us.
Yeah, sure. If anybody has got a question, do use the Ask a Question section, and one's just popped up. That's a good one. If light is the fastest thing in the universe, and how fast is dark? We might come back to that later unless you want to answer it now. That's a good one.
Well, you can't see dark.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Brian.
Okay.
I'll say a few more words and then we're having you back later on in this session to guide us around the night sky with some really exciting software called Stellarium. So we'll see you in a minute.
Okay.
So what have we had? We've had real space rockets. We've had star fields. Remember one year, I was a little tired of going around the park in the dark, and we decided to have a Starlight Express. So I was sitting there on the back of a road train, going around some of the science garden. Alveston Park has a wonderful science garden. Again, that was put there by Alveston Park friends. I'll be introducing some of that to you as well. We are not encouraging you to go out, stay in here and we will bring the park to you. That's what we're about. Just to let you know our lineup for the next 9 days. It's a bit long. I've got 2 pieces of paper worth because things are going in and out of my head at such a rate of knots. So today I'm going to do this introduction. I'm going to tell you a little bit about why there are 7 days in the week. And then I'm going to hand over to Brian, who you just met, to learn a little bit about the night sky and how to use Stellarium, which is free for everybody. So you can do that from home. Sunday. Each day from tomorrow onwards, I'll be doing a little piece about the celestial object behind the day of the week. There were 7 things that the ancient people could see with just your eyes, well, same for us, that moved against the backdrop of stars. So Sunday is the day of the sun. So I'll be looking a little bit at the science and the mythology of our closest star. Then we've got, really exciting, we've got an interview with Anne Duval, who's just written a children's novel called When the Stars Went On. So you can find out a bit more about that tomorrow. And Derby Museums have been making some videos for us. It's so lovely that they've managed to do that here. They've done it under lockdown conditions. I don't think they can get into any of their buildings, but they have still made us really lovely little videos. So tomorrow you'll be watching Joseph Wright Paints the Solar System, all about one of the most famous Enlightenment paintings in the world. And it's right here in Derby. On Monday, we're having Monday's Day of the Moon, so I'll give you a quick introduction to the moon, but I'll keep that short because Derby and District Astronomical Society know way more than me about the moon. And they'll be showing you what's probably the best moon globe in the world. Tune in on Monday, you'll know what I mean. On Tuesday is Day of Mars, so I'll be giving you an introduction to the science and mythology behind the red planet, and then another of the video shorts from Derby Museums is John Flamsteed and his Star Atlas. Tuesday is also the day when we've got dedicated Q&A sessions, so if you've got any burning questions, there might be a bit more time to do that. Wednesday, Day of Mercury, I'll introduce you to the fastest planet, and then you'll get a double dose of me because I'm doing a little presentation called Fire, Ice and Aliens. It's all about the 4 largest moons of Jupiter, which I studied as part of my degree, so I love them to bits. On Thursday, we've got Day of Jupiter, so more of the biggest planet in the solar system. And then if any of you are thinking of getting serious about stargazing and investing in a pair of binoculars or even a telescope, Derby and District Astronomical Society will be there to discuss your options there. You can ask them questions. They'll be able to tell you loads and loads of useful stuff. On Friday's Day of Venus, so I'll be giving you a tour on the hottest planet in the solar system. And then I'm going to take you through several billion years of the life cycle of stars. Don't worry, I'll condense it, it's fine. Then we've got Saturday, the 30th, this day of Saturn. So Saturn has the best rings in the solar system. And Derby and District Astronomical Society will be doing a talk about infrared astronomy called The Hidden Light. There's a really exciting launch of the James Webb Telescope later this year, and you can find out a bit more if you tune in on Saturday. And finally, I'm really excited about Sunday. We have award-winning science communicator Ian Russell, who's agreed to do something about the bigness of space and how to imagine the enormous distances involved. Now, for those of you who have come to our usual park events, you might have met Ian. He's the one that comes along and blows giant bubbles. They are amazing. He can make bubbles the size of cars. And I know a lot of you have enjoyed that. Brilliant. I'm just looking up there. Hi to Lincoln. Wow, I'm impressed. So we want to bring you a little bit of the magic of the night sky. This is not just about science, it's about stories as well, and the interweaving of that. So why do we have 7 days in the week? Well, to really understand that, we're going to have to do a little bit of playing with numbers, and we're going to have to try and understand a little bit about how people used to see the universe around us. So we want you to be involved. we love you sitting back and enjoying, but we want you to get involved too. So I'll give you a few moments just to find a calculator or a phone with a calculator function on. And we're just going to have a little bit of a play, a little bit of a play with numbers. Thanks, Peter. There's a question here, which is, I love this. If light is the fastest thing in the universe, then how fast is dark? Peter is one of the members of Darby District Astronomical Society. He says, dark is just the absence of light, so it's not a thing. So therefore, the speed of dark is not something that is relevant. And there's another update to shadow, which is dark, and again is not a real thing, but a shadow can move at any speed you can imagine. Those are really good answers. Thank you. Okay, if that's worked, then I will have timestamped that. So if you want to go back, you can actually, find the right place in the video. So, have you got your calculator? Okay. Okay. Let's get a bit of magic going and a little bit of a play with numbers. As many of you as possible, get involved in this because it really is quite fun. So what I want you to do is type in, I'm not sure whether you'll see this, a 3-digit number, like 1, 2, 3. Okay, any 3-digit number will do. 1, 2, 3, like that. Okay. And once you've got that, don't tell me what it is because that kind of spoils it. Once you've got that, I want you to type it in again to give yourselves a 6-digit number. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 there. I'm just holding it up to the camera. All right. So, do any of you have a lucky number? If you've got a lucky number, just put it in the chat. Okay. So, what I want you to do now, is to think about your number really, really hard. I'm going to think of some numbers that you can divide that one by, and it will still leave you with a whole number. Brilliant. Some lucky numbers are coming out. 26. Thank you, Judy. 22 from Linda. Okay. So hopefully you've all got your 6-digit number. Right, try this. I want you to press divide by, let's go for 13. Lucky for some, 13. So if you press divide by 13 equals, you should have a whole number. If you have got a whole number, just put yes in the chat. That's great. Right, stick with the number you've got and I'll have another go. Okay, one of my favorite numbers of all time is number 11. So I want you to just press divide by 11 equals. Okay, divide by 11 equals, and you should still have a whole number. Am I cool? Yeah? Yeah, I've seen lots of yes. All right, final part. Okay, the final part is a very common lucky number. I want you to press divide by 7 equals. Just divide by 7 equals. Something quite special will happen. Just let me know in the chat if something special happens. Yay, Kay. 11's my favorite number too. Yeah, I really like 11. Did anything happen? Was that, by any chance, the number you started with? Now, some of you will want to know how that works. Well, go work it out. I'm not going to give you the secrets to that, but if you want to find out, it's fairly straightforward. If you just want to use it as a little trick to enjoy, then that's fine too. You know, enjoy the magic or find out even more. And it becomes even more magical when you do that, I think. But I'll leave that for you. But number 7 is the number of days of the week. And that's because if we look up at the sky, we can see planets. We can see 5 planets using just our eyes. Mercury's the trickiest to see. We can see Venus. We can see Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. Okay, so you've got 5 visible planets. You've also got the sun, and you've got the moon as well. Now, all of these things will move against the backdrop of stars. Now, I'm just going to share with you a PowerPoint of mine, and I will show you. There we go. Action window. A little bit about this. So hopefully you can see this view here. Now, if we go back in time a couple of thousand years or more to maybe the Babylonians in what's present day Iraq, they would have looked up at the stars and noticed these things move against the backdrop of stars. And people would have looked at the stars much more than we do now with our modern lifestyles, artificial lights. There's basically a lot more to do at night in the 21st century than there was over 2,000 years ago. But they would have tracked how these things moved against the backdrop of stars. So I'm not talking about the sun rising in the east, going overhead and setting in the west. I'm talking about the stars that might have come up just after sunset changing. Okay, at the moment, Sirius will come up and rise just after sunset. In the summer, it will be a different set of stars, and they would have tracked this. So this is not how we think of the universe or our solar system at all. This is what was thought of thousands of years ago, and Earth is at the center there. And in order of speed, movement against the backdrop of stars, this is what they noticed. They noticed the moon, Mercury, Venus, the sun, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. Now, what they would also have tracked is the phases of the moon. Now, the moon takes 29.5 days to cycle through its full phases from full back to full. Now, 29.5 is a really, really awkward number. It wasn't like the numbers we were using just. But if you fudge that a bit, take 1.5 off, you've got 28. And 28 divides by 7, and you get 4. Okay, so the Babylonians had 4 sets of 7, making up the 28, and then they would fudge it a little bit like we do and have a couple of extra days at the end of the month as well. And the reason they divided that to 28 by 7 is because they could see 7 things up there in the night sky. So the slowest of these would have been Saturn. Now, if we count from Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Sun, Venus, Mercury, Moon, we can have those on our own. But the Romans came along and they made things way more complicated. They had every hour of the day named after a planet. Now, think about this. We've got 24 hours in a day. So if hour 1 was Saturn, that would be Saturday. Okay, Saturn, Saturday. Now, to get the next day, we need to count on 24. So if we start here, we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Around again gives us 14. Around us again gives us 21. Okay, now we need to go 22, 23, 24 to find the next day, Sunday. That would be the first planet or the first hour of the day for the Romans. Okay, count on another 3. 1, 2, 3. You've got Moon Day or Monday. Another 3. 1, 2, 3. We've got Mars Day or Tuesday. I've been having a little play with this and I've turned this into a craft activity. You can find this at alvestonparkfriends.org.uk. You can print it out. And I just put these planets in order from the slowest, Saturn, to the fastest, the Moon, as seen from here on Earth. It's not to do with how fast they're really going. And we have got Saturday to Sunday. Okay, we're counting 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we're going to go around again. We're going to count on 3 from Sunday and we get to Monday. Count on 3. You get to Tuesday. You count on 3. You get to Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And if you do this, and you've got a printable sheet, you can even colour it in too, which is quite satisfying. So it's a little something for you to do. Now, all that time, you probably thought that you were sitting quite still. I mean, I don't know, some of you might have been jumping around, doing some exercise, that's fine too. But are you really still? Well, the answer to that is no, you're not. At the moment, we are spinning, just spinning at about 624 miles per hour if you're here in Derby. If you're further north, you will actually be spinning slower. If you're further south, you will be spinning a bit faster. Then, of course, we're orbiting. We're orbiting the sun, which is the real thing that is at the center of our solar system. And then our whole solar system is hurtling through space, orbiting the galactic center as well. And we'll go into that a little bit more in future sessions. But for now, I'm going to hand over to Darby and District Astronomical Society, to Brian Dodson, so that he can share some of Stellarium with you. Just invite him up now. There we go. So, hope you enjoyed that. And I do hope that after this, you have a go with Stellarium. It has a binocular and telescope function as well, which I'm sure Brian will tell you about. Hi, Brian.
Hi, Katie.
How are you? Right, I'm going to hand over to you.
All right.
And then you can take it away. There you go.
Right. Hello, everybody. Welcome from Darby District Astronomical Society. What I'm going to do today, like Katie said, or this evening, I'm going to talk about what we can see in the night sky. And I'm going to use a piece of software which is free to download to a laptop or to a computer. And it's absolutely fantastic. You can do all sorts of things. You can even go back in time to the Babylonians, if you like, and see what the night sky was like 2,000 years ago, or you could go forward 2,000 years if you wish. But this piece of software called Stellarium is absolutely superb, and there's all sorts of things. So have a play with it if you download it. Here we are. Okay, so I hope you can all see that. Can we see that? No? Just a moment. Just a moment. I've got to share my screen, haven't I? Where do I share my screen? How do I share my screen, Katie? Can't hear you, Duck.
Hi. If you just put your cursor up to the top of the screen,
got you.
have a little share screen. You might have to. I'll give you 3 options. You might have to go to the second
Share
one, which
screen.
is application. Yeah.
Okay, share screen. Got you. Sorry about that. Okay, application window, and that one. Share. There. Can we see that?
It might take. It's coming up. It'll take a few seconds to come up, but I'll just make you smaller as well.
Have you got that on?
Yeah,
are we on?
brilliant.
Okay. This is Stellarium. Okay. It's just by pressing the backwards and forwards keys, or you can use your mouse if you've got one. You can move around the night sky up and down and see what's about. There are a few keys down here. If we look down here, there's all sorts of keys. There's a time window. You can alter the time. This one here will show you all the stuff that's in the night sky, the deep sky objects. So what we're looking at now is, I'll turn that off for just a second. What we're looking at now is the night sky as it is from Darby now. Okay, so what I'm going to do, what my idea of tonight is to introduce you to the night sky, have a look what you can see with your own eyes. Okay, just go outside when it's nice and dark and clear, and have a look up in the night sky and try and pick out some of these constellations that I'm going to show you. Okay, and then when we'll have a look at a few constellations and a few things you can see with the naked eye. Then I'll move on to doing a few things that you can see through binoculars, and then just a few things that you can see through a telescope. But the idea is that we want you to go outside and explore, have a look and say, oh, let's see what's up there, and you'll be amazed at what you can see just through a pair of binoculars. Okay, so I'm going to come down here to another cursor, this one here, and it gives me the constellation lines. So if you look here, most of us will know what this constellation is here, and that is the Great Bear, Ursa Major, or we know it as the Plough. What we can see in the night sky, if I just turn that off again, what we see in the night sky is that are the 5 or 7 brightest stars here, and that's what we recognise as the constellation. But as you saw then, the actual constellation is a lot larger. But the constellation of the Plough is actually very important, because the 2 stars on this end of the saucepan end, if you like, point up to another star here, which is the North Star, and that sits directly above the North Pole. Okay, so for sailors and things like that, especially in ancient times, they would have used this for navigation. Okay, so this is the Plough as we know it. The Americans call it the Big Dipper. There are a few different names for it. The Vikings used to call it Thor's chariot, and you can see that it makes sense. Okay, across the other side, if I just move my, oops, wrong way, this way, and come down here, okay, we can see the faint shape of a W, or a, depending which way it's up. This looks like an M or a number 3. Okay, this is the constellation of Cassiopeia, and for those people that are familiar with the Greek Odysseys, such as Perseus and what have you, you'll know that Cassiopeia was one of was the queen, and then it points, 2 stars point across here to Perseus. Okay, oops, hang on, let me find out where I am again.
Hi, Graham.
Okay. Yeah. You're right, Doug.
Yeah, just to let everybody know, I'm not sure if there's anything we can do about it, but your cursor, when you're pointing things out, is a little off to the right-hand side.
Okay.
Wherever Brian's pointing, if you just look to the left, you'll see something that looks like what he's saying.
Okay.
I'm not sure whether we can do a workaround, but I just thought to let people know.
Okay. Okay. Well, I don't know. I'll make a bigger circle there. Okay. This is Perseus, and along with Perseus we have let me put the things on again. Constellation Lines. Okay, it's easier to see if I put the constellation lines on. There we have Cassiopeia. Those 2 stars there point to Perseus, and then we'll go round. There's the big bear, and then we're coming round to a few constellations that I think most people have seen in the night sky. This is Orion here, okay, with Betelgeuse, very bright red super giant that's expected to go supernova anytime within the next 1,000,000 years. And then it's got a very bright blue giant down here called Rigel, and 3 belt stars, and 3 stars here that make up the sword of Orion. But we'll come back to that in a short while. Over here we have Castor and Pollux, which make up the constellation of the twins, or Gemini. Okay, and just beginning to set now is Cygnus, the swan, this big constellation here. Okay, so if you can find these, you can find your way around the night sky. Deneb's a very bright star, and you can, this one's a lovely star here. This is just click on it there and it tells you the name of it, Alberio, which is a beautiful double star. And if you look through a pair of binoculars, you'll be able to see the 2 stars through there. But the idea is, find your way around the night sky, have a look at the constellations, and if you've got some software like Stellarium, you can do just that. Okay, let me just get rid of that. Okay, so here's another one of the Greek. Sorry, I'm trying to be careful. This is Pegasus, and this is what we call the square of Pegasus, because if you look, there's very little inside it. There's not a lot you can see inside the square of Pegasus. So if you can find that, those 4 stars there, okay, and then, yeah.
Sorry, can you put the constellation names?
Yes, certainly. I certainly can.
Those.
Yeah, there we go. Just put the constellation names up.
Thank you.
There we go. Okay. Oops. Okay, so this is Pegasus, and this is called the square of Pegasus. But if we follow the line here, this actually leads into the constellation of Andromeda. And we just follow this up here and up to here, and we get, well, and we get another thing that you can actually see with the naked eye. This here, the Andromeda Galaxy, and it's actually visible if you've got a really nice dark sky. You can actually see that with the naked eye. And if I zoom in a little bit on it, you'll perhaps see there. That's the Andromeda Galaxy. You won't obviously see it like that. You'll just see like a thumbprint on a piece of glass. It just look like that. Basically, that's the Andromeda Galaxy, and I'll come back to that in a moment. So there's a few things that you can see with the naked eye. So if you go out there tonight and it was a nice clear night, no snow around or anything like that, you'd be able to see a few of these constellations, and then you'd be able to work your way around the night sky. And the idea is that if you can find your way around the night sky, then it's easier to find things. Let me just get rid of the deep sky stuff for a moment. There we are. Now then, so obviously the other things that you can see with the naked eye tonight are the moon and Mars. You won't see Uranus. Uranus is too faint to see, but you will see Mars. It's very bright, and it's quite nice to look at. Okay, but you've also got the constellation of Taurus here, and there's a few things in Taurus that I shall point out to you. So if we move on then, if you then find your way around, so you can point out a few of these constellations, and then you learn a couple of the names of the stars like Betelgeuse, Aldebaran and things like that, Deneb, you can then use those to plot your way around the night sky. So if we go, here's Sirius that Katie mentioned. That's the brightest star in the night sky at the moment. Okay, but you can use all these bright stars to then work your way around and say, right, I want to get to X, Y or Z. I want to get to let's see, let me find I want to get back to Cygnus if I can. There we go, here's Cygnus with Deneb. You can use Deneb as a pointer and know that directly opposite is Alberio that we were talking about. Or you can draw a line from one star to another, an imaginary line, and then you can find your way to a different star or a different item in the night sky. But the important thing is to learn a few of these constellations. Okay, once you've learned a few of these constellations, take out a pair of binoculars and start looking at a few things through binoculars. So we'll come back to Taurus and Orion. Okay, and I mentioned these three little stars here. Okay, now that's called the Sword of Orion, and with the naked eye you can see the three stars, very faint, but you can, if it's a nice dark night, make out that the middle one isn't quite a star. It's a nebula. Okay, it's called the Great Orion Nebula, and it's absolutely beautiful. Okay, it's absolutely, and through a pair of binoculars you won't see any colour like this. It's a little bit of a, people see all these pictures in magazines and in the papers and things like that and think, oh, that's lovely, I'll go and have a look at that. One thing you will see, you might see, well, you will see with this is like a smoke. It'll look like a cloud of smoke or something like that. But you will see the nebulosity. You will see all this here. It just won't have enough colour in it because your eyes can't process the information quickly enough. These pictures are taken with cameras over a long period of time, and indeed, if you ever want to log on to our website and go onto the gallery section, you can see some of these images that are absolutely superb. So we'll go back out, but then you can see that with a, sorry?
Brian, please can you, just a request from Donald, please can you click on the stars that you're talking about? It'll just help us out with the offset a little bit.
Okay,
great.
sorry. Yeah, okay, so Betelgeuse is there. Can you see that? How's that done?
That's perfect, thank you.
Yeah, are we a little bit better?
Yeah.
Okay. Ouch. Sorry about that. Okay, so we've had a look at the Orion Nebula. We're going to move across and have a look at a thing that's better seen through a pair of binoculars than it is through a telescope. Okay, and that's this cluster here. Okay, well, that's giving you the star. But this cluster of stars here, which are the Pleiades, okay, and all the seven sisters. And with the naked eye, you could probably pick out 6 or 7 stars, hence the name the Seven Sisters. But through a pair of binoculars, you'll see absolutely loads. You'll absolutely a mass of stars in that cluster, and these are all siblings. These are all brothers and sisters, if you like. They've all been born more or less the same time, and they're moving through space, and gradually over time they'll spread out and get further and further apart. But at the moment they're just this nebulosity that you can see, this blue area here, okay, that's it's not associated with the stars. It's just being lit by the stars as they pass through the gas cloud. But through a pair of binoculars you can see, because you haven't got such a narrow field of view, you get more of the stars in, and it's absolutely beautiful to see. And then I'll move back round here to Perseus and Cassiopeia, to an area of the sky here. With the naked eye you will not see anything, or unless it's a really, really dark sky, okay, and nice and crisp and clear and freezing. But if you get a pair of binoculars, and then I'll just put the nebulas on, and then we look here between, if you look, those 2 stars, can you see these 2 stars that I'm looking at here and here? Yeah, pointing down to this star in Perseus here. Between those 2, just there, it's called the double cluster. Through a pair of binoculars it'll look like you'll see a load of stars. You'll see quite a lot of stars. If you actually look through a telescope with a low powered eyepiece, you'll see a myriad of stars. It's like diamonds on black velvet. Honestly, it's beautiful. So I won't go on any more about that because my colleagues know that it's my favourite. Another thing to look at is around Taurus. Okay, now Taurus has got a supergiant, red supergiant too, Aldebaran. If you look at that, that's in its dying throes, if you like. That's likely to go supernova at any time. Let's have a look. Oh yes, if you notice, let me just get rid of all that writing. If you notice, there seems to be a lot of things happening all the way across here. Okay, now that's because it's the Milky Way. Okay, you can't see it very well. If you've got a nice dark sky and you look up to where Cassiopeia is, and then down to, I'm not doing this, there we go, all the way down here. You see, all the way down here, that's where the Milky Way is, and you're looking into all the stars. Okay, now get a pair of binoculars and look at an area of the Milky Way and just see what you can see with a pair of binoculars, because it's outstanding. You wouldn't believe how many stars are actually up there, especially if you've gone to a nice dark sky from somewhere like Darby, where the light pollution is ridiculous. If you go to somewhere like Brailsford, where we have our observatory, which is reasonably dark, it's not perfectly dark, you can see the Milky Way on occasions, and it's absolutely gorgeous just to look at that and pick up a pair of binoculars and look at the amount of stars that you can see through a pair of binoculars. Okay, and obviously at the moment we've got the moon to look at. Now the moon at the moment is in its just a moment, I need to, let's come in. Yes, it's in its gibbous phase, which means it's about 3/4 full, which means it's getting very bright. In another few days it'll be full, and when it's full it's not the best object to look at because it's very bright and there is no contrast. So when you're looking at things like the maria or seas and the craters, you can't see them in any particular detail because the sun is shining directly onto it and it's reflecting the light directly back at us, and it can actually hurt your eyes if you're looking through a telescope or something like that at the moon. It could actually hurt your eyes because it's that bright. Okay, the best this over the previous week to 10 days is probably the best time to have a look at the moon, and then give it another 10 days and have a look at it again in its last phases. Then that's the time to look at the moon. So let's go back. Okay, and obviously Mars again. If you look at Mars through a pair of binoculars, that can be rewarding. Okay, you can see you might see the ice, patches of ice on the poles, and you might see a little bit of this detail across here. Okay, so you will through a telescope. You might do through a telescope. You might not through a pair of binoculars, but it's still worthwhile having a look. Okay, so that's a few things to look at through a pair of binoculars. But what I would suggest to do is, once you've learnt a few things in the night sky, just looking out, using your eyes. Then you've gone and said, oh right, let's have a look up there, and you take a pair of binoculars out, and then you start to think, right, I wonder what that looks like through a telescope. And this is where it can get very, very interesting, but very expensive if you're not careful. Okay, so I'm just going to show you just a few things. I've already showed you Orion, and I've also showed you Andromeda. There are a couple of things that are really nice to look at through a telescope. But we've also, if we go to this star here is called Alhena. Hang on, it's picked up a satellite. Let's get rid of that. Sorry, it picked up this star here is called Alhena. Okay, and if we draw a line to Betelgeuse here, okay, about halfway in between, and then just a little bit above that, we come to a thing called the 37 cluster. Now I found this when we were out at the observatory, and it's absolutely amazing, because I'll try and show it you now, but I doubt if you'll get a proper image of it. Now you could perhaps just see I've actually taken a picture of this, and it just looks like the number 37. So take my word for it. It's worthwhile just having a look and saying, oh wow, But this is the idea. Find your way around. Have a look. Say, oh, I wonder what that is. And especially if you've got something like Stellarium, where you can say, oh, I'll see if I can find M35. Let's go to that. And you get your pair of binoculars, or you get your telescope, you've got it all nicely set up, and find M35. And then you go and have a look at it, and you'll see just a few stars. but have a look round. That's the whole idea. Have a look round, and then, but don't always assume that you're going to see it better through a telescope than you will through a pair of binoculars, because a pair of binoculars very often it gives you a wider field of view, and you can see a lot more, especially with things like the open clusters. Okay, but one thing I would recommend you go and have a look at is that double cluster. Okay, think what you like to look at, and then of course the galaxies, there's all sorts of things. Look at Deneb and Cygnus, loads of things to look at around here, loads of things that you can look at. Okay, and of course the Andromeda Galaxy just there, and see if you can pick out its two companions as well, M32 and M110, two satellite galaxies. Have a look at let's go back just a minute. Let's go back to the north here. Right, there's loads of things that you don't realise. There's another galaxy here. So if you look at the plough, and you take the two stars that make up the bucket part here, and you make a diagonal and go the same distance up, you come to another galaxy, M81. Okay, and a satellite galaxy, the Cigar Galaxy. Have a look. Don't just, you know, think, oh right, that's me done. I'm just going to move the time on a little bit just before I finish and show you another type of object that we can look at. Okay, let me move the time on. There's the time window. So let's move it out of the way a bit. I'm going to move it on a couple of hours. There we are. And we've come to a thing here. Get rid of it. And if we follow the arc of the plough here, it brings us to a star called Arcturus. Now, Arcturus is a very bright star. It's another red giant. Okay, and that's, we say arc to Arcturus, so it's easy to find, right? And then we've got a double star that's just here called Caroli, and then if we go halfway between the two, we come to this M3. Okay, M3 is a globular cluster, and I shall just bring that up. Okay, it doesn't look very spectacular on there, but believe you me, it is. When you see it, there are tens of thousands of stars in that cluster. Okay, it's well worth having a look at. So there's just a few things that you can look at in the night sky. The important message I'm trying to get across here is go outside and have a look with your own pair of eyes and pick out a few of the constellations and say, oh yes, I can see them now. Once somebody's pointed them out to you, you'll find them dead easy. You go out and say, oh yeah, that's such and such, and that's Orion, that's the twins, that's, you know, Gemini, and blah blah blah. Once you've done that, you start finding your way around the night sky. Then take out a pair of binoculars and say, oh, I wonder what I can see over there. Use your binoculars, see what you can see, and then it's time to move on to a telescope and say, right, let's have a look through a telescope at that. And once you do that, I can virtually guarantee you'll be hooked. Thank you.
That was superb. Thank you. Thanks for that, Brian.
Okay, was that long enough?
Yeah, it was just right, because
I've tried to stop sharing.
Amazing piece of software. I'm just going to invite Peter up as well.
Yeah, okay.
So that,
can you see me, or am I still sharing?
We're still sharing. We're still live. So
okay, I don't know what's happened here. I've pressed stop sharing.
Do you want me
Let
to
me.
say, do you want to stay or do you want me to say bye?
No, 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 no. I'm just trying to get back on. Ah, can you see me now? There we are.
Well, we've never lost you. Okay, and I just thought it would be nice to answer a few questions. That really was
Yep.
amazing, and I loved what you said about the binoculars. I have binoculars and a telescope, and you know what? If I just want to dash out, I'm not going to dash out with my telescope. My telescope, I have to put the seats down in the car to get out there, and it is too heavy for me to lug anywhere. And subsequently, it ends up just stuck in a cupboard
Yeah.
somewhere. Binoculars, they're great. You can just pick them up and
Exactly.
go outside. 30 seconds, you're viewing. Is absolutely superb.
Yeah.
Thank you,
I'm sorry,
everybody.
by the way, that you had problems with the cursor and everything. It's,
Yeah,
I don't know what's going on.
I think somebody mentioned something about screen mirroring. I think it's something that we'll have a look at further down. For everybody, thank you very much. We're going to answer a few questions now. Just a little heads up, if you can't wait for tomorrow's event at 2 p.m., I'll be putting out a little craft activity for you to have a go at as well. So that's a little extra that's not on our official schedule. And that's an activity created for us by Derby Museums. Now, we've
You're
had some
echoing.
fantastic questions. First of all, maybe this is one for Peter because you've already answered a little. A star bear here from Ursa Major. I was thinking that Elon Musk has been getting a lot of flack for his Starlink satellite project. People are saying it's causing big problems for astronomers. Starlink now has over 1,000 satellites in orbit. Is it really causing big problems? I'm just going to leave Peter's mic on.
Yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me all right? You suddenly muted yourselves. Okay. Yeah, I think it's the astronomical fraternity or community are really quite annoyed with Elon Musk because not only is he putting 1,000 satellites up, he's putting tens of thousands of satellites up there. He's promised to paint them darker than the original ones, but lots of professional astronomers who take photographs of the night sky and rely on light coming from distant objects are really up in arms about it because it can cause a lot of problems with the photographs, with streaks right across the images. So he's not doing anybody a favour. Well, apart from those who want massive internet access, I suppose, but he's not doing anybody in the astronomical community a favour by filling the skies with 10,000 satellites. So, yeah, it's a problem.
Yeah, thanks for that, Peter.
Do you want to take me off and then invite Anthony and Don up?
Yeah, I'll try that.
Yeah.
Brian.
Get rid of me and then, because I've had my bit.
Thanks, Brian. See you later.
Yeah.
Okay.
While you're doing that, Katie, I've just got a couple of binoculars in front of me, which I'll just show people these. We recently bought this pair of binoculars. One is what's called 8 by 32, which means you get 8 times magnification, and 32 refers to the size of the lens on the front end. And this one is 10 by 42, which means that it magnifies by 10 and 42 millimeters across the lens. So you get a slightly different field of view with these two telescopes. It's worth getting a decent telescope. You expect to pay £150 or more for a good telescope. We bought these in the Attenborough Nature Reserve, where Opticron, the company, have an outlet, and they're very, very friendly people there. let you try them out. You go look at the birds, which is what we bought them for, but they're superb binoculars for looking at the night sky. The company is Opticron, and they make a whole range of very, very good binoculars. Good quality lenses, sharp, crystal clear images you'll see through them.
Brilliant. I'm just going to ask you another of the questions. I can't find Donald at the moment to bring him up. I'm just having another go now. Yeah, he's disappeared somewhere. So I'm going to ask you another question, if that's okay, from our question list. This one was from Carl. Hi, Carl. Says there's a lot of speculation about the future of Betelgeuse after it went dark in 2019. Some suggested that it may be a sign that it could go supernova. Please could you explain what happened, and also what will it look like in the night sky when it goes supernova?
I think what happened was that a massive dust cloud or gas cloud was ejected from Betelgeuse. It built up and partly obscured the light from that star, and the intensity dimmed somewhat very quickly over a few months, and I think it's more or less back to what it was, or it's certainly on its way to what it was, as that sort of massive gas cloud has moved off into space. Because it suddenly started to dim, the Betelgeuse is a red giant, and red giants are known to be the last phase before they go supernova. Because there was a sudden dimming, lots of astronomers were speculating that Betelgeuse was due to explode imminently. What imminently means in astronomical terms is any time in the next million years. So, but it's back to its usual self at the moment. So I think we still can say it can go at any time in the next million years. When it goes, it'll be visible in broad daylight. It would be very, very bright object in the sky. You'd be able to probably be able to see it in broad daylight.
Brilliant. Thank you. I'm going to answer one question if nobody minds. I'm getting a little echo, so I'm going to just mute you for a little bit, Peter. Don't be offended. This is from Kay. I'm not sure what sort of questions you were expecting, but I was wondering if maybe you could explain how the precession of the equinoxes has influenced or is likely to influence the position of the constellations over time. Feel free, astronomers, to correct me if I'm wrong, but the way I think about precession is it's kind of like wobbling. If any of you have played with a spinning top, then you'll know that not only does it spin around, but if you think about its axis also wobbles around. Now, this is fascinating because it means that what we see as the North Star, Polaris, and we call it the North Star because it's almost directly above our North Pole. Well, it wasn't always there, okay? If we go back a couple of thousand years, there's a star called Thuban in Draco the Dragon that was above our North Pole. So this wobbling of the Earth's axis over thousands of years, very, very slow wobbling, causes the positions of the stars to change ever so slightly. Now, if you really want to get to the bottom of this, I suggest that you go or sit in your room, wherever you are, and just wobble a bit and look at how the surroundings appear to move around ever so slightly. So the constellations won't change relative to each other. It's just that they might be slightly higher or lower in the sky. Hope that one helps. Right. I'm going to bring Peter back for this one.
There's the question about the rings of Saturn.
Saturn one. I was just going to ask you about the Starlink again. This one's from Starbear. I heard that all the latest satellites have black umbrellas to reduce light reflection.
Yeah.
Has that made any difference at all?
I don't know. I suspect it will marginally make a difference, but I'm pretty sure the astronomical community are not very happy about Elon Musk.
Cool. And yeah, there's a lovely one that I think we'll finish on, which is it possible to see Saturn's rings with binoculars, or is a telescope required? I think that's a really good one. Thank you.
Yeah. So, well, the answer is yes to both. You'll need quite a reasonable magnification. You could, with these binoculars, which has got 10 times magnification, you'll just about see the rings of Saturn. With a telescope, it's a lot easier. With higher magnification, maybe 50 plus or more, you'll be able to see the rings of Saturn very clearly. And on a very good night, and with a decent telescope, you'll be able to see a gap in the rings, which is known as the Cassini division. It's a little black gap. If you can make that out, if you can see that, you've done very, very well.
Brilliant. Thanks very much. I finally got up here online. Do you want to say a couple of words?
Good evening, everybody. More than happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. So I think what we'll do is say thank you from here. Things get really echoey still, Don, when I'm got you not on mute. But you'll find when you're talking, so I'll just keep quiet when you are. There will be plenty of time across the next 8 days to ask some more questions. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for those of you still here right at the very end. If you liked it, share it, okay? Tell other people about this. We love questions. Stick with us. We're not experts at this. This is all new to everybody here. And come back tomorrow for Sunday, Day of the Sun. So this is a quick reminder. This is where I'll introduce you to our closest star. We've got an interview with Anne Val, author of When the Stars Went On. And we've also got the video short from Darby Museums about Joseph Wright and the Orrery 2. Let us know what you think in the chat. And if you can't wait, there'll be that extra craft session at 2 p.m. tomorrow. I've pre-recorded a video and I'll be live too, so I can have a chat to any of you having a little bit of trouble with that. Thanks, everybody. See you tomorrow.